Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning as I talk about dealing with the loss of a loved one. So, the first thing that I would like to say is that we are destined to heal. And I've seen this over and over in my own life. And the thing is, what we sometimes forget is that the heart heals. But it's the mind that gets stuck in the past and convinces us that we still suffer. And the only suffering that remains is actually that which is created in the mind. So the first time that I was really confronted with death of someone close to me is 16 years ago, when I lost my life mentor after a car accident. And I really felt that like my heart was ripped open. I felt that life would never be the same again. What am I going to do without him? And yes, life wasn't the same. But the thing is, it's a new life. It's a new phase that basically starts. And being fascinated by human psychology and human behavior, I actually started noticing and paying attention to my own healing process back then. And one of the things that stood out was the definite existence of the 5 stages of grief. And even though they might come and go. And then another thing is actually that new memories start to come. It's a given. So you visit friends. It's another Christmas. It's another party, another event, another concert, and as that naturally happens, it also naturally happens that those new memories shift the old ones further into the past. It's not that you're going to forget that person, but it softens that load. And then getting to this year. So everything that I'm talking about this morning are really things that I am applying in my own life and that I personally find helpful, and I really hope that it's going to help you as well. So, something that really helped me cope much better this year with all the loss. I've had so much loss in my own life this year in comparison to when I lost my life mentor 16 years ago. It's basically the things that I've learned over the past, say, 3 years that really made a significant difference. So the first thing that I would like to share is the tremendous power of actually not resisting what's happening and to actually just to surrender to 2020. Whatever happened to you, you can't change it. Okay, so make peace with it. Tell yourself it is what it is. I can't change it. Okay, so that is the first thing that's really helpful. And then another thing is, at the beginning of the year, I saw this amazing book, The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. And for some reason, it's not a coincidence, I was just drawn to this book. And looking back now, I realize why I was drawn to the book and how much it would actually mean to me as I experience various losses this year. And I want to read something from his book. He says, we perpetuate our pain, keep it alive by replaying our hurts over and over again in our minds. We repeat our painful memories with the unconscious wish, perhaps, that somehow it will change the situation, but it never does. Okay, so to say that it is what it is, it happened, and not resist what happened, not trying to change everything in your mind, is really a very liberating experience. Well, it was for me, and it will be for you as well. And it really makes it easier to accept that horrible loss. Then the next thing is that I learned over the past couple of years is to stay in the moment. Being present is so incredibly powerful and important to experiencing joy. So allow yourself to go through the motions. Allow yourself to feel the pain, to feel the sadness, to feel the loss, to feel that hole in your heart, and not resist it. Let it just flow. Okay, because if we block it, we're basically starting to suppress it, and then it creates more emotional problems in our lives. And then another beautiful thing that stood out to me when I read the Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama was to tolerate it and have patience with the process. Okay, so that's also important, not to push yourself to get over it. There will be triggers, and when you experience that triggers, whatever it is that happens next, whether you're crying, I cry a lot. When I experience the triggers, I cry, and I believe that there's a lot of healing power in crying. And then another thing that I learned, and that was actually something that came into my awareness when I lost my dad. A week or so before he passed away, I was walking back from him to my place, and I was crying. It's like I only have my dad for, I don't know, a couple of days longer or so. And then I thought, but what am I doing here? Instead of embracing this current moment of still having him and experiencing that joy, I actually anticipate him leaving. So what do? I increase my suffering, and he's still there. And then what the ego did once my dad passed, it took me back to the time he was still there. So one needs to realize that your mind is really playing a lot of games with you. Okay, so that is the importance of actually staying in the moment. Then I would also just like to share a couple of tips with you, which I use, which I feel really helped me. And the first thing is to show yourself compassion, especially by giving yourself a lot of self-love. Okay, and you need you in that moment. Yes, you need the support of other people, but you need to support and love yourself. And be kind, be gentle, be compassionate in your own healing process. And then, precondition yourself. This is very powerful. And maybe, yes, you've lost somebody now, but next time, this is what you're going to do now for when you experience future loss, is to precondition yourself for loss. Loss is a part of life. That is the first thing that you need to realize. You can't change it, okay? Then prepare for pain ahead of you and this might sound strange to you, but it's really very powerful, very effective. I did it in my own life, is to actually visualize your own death. Visualize the death of people around you, close ones. And this is hard to do. It's very hard to do. But you know what? When you actually get there, it's much easier to actually deal with them passing on. And it actually it makes it easier, but when we experience pain, our brain automatically converts it into suffering. Okay? So and that causes us to lose objectivity. And that's why they say don't make big decisions when you lose somebody or when you experience a traumatic event. Okay, so it helps you to actually stay more objective in that time of loss. Make peace with the fact that life is ever changing. It's a given. It will always change. In a year from now, things will be different. In 2 years from now, things will be different. In 5 years, we change jobs, people move out of relationships, new relationships, they immigrate, a lot of things can change. Okay, so make peace with the fact that life is ever changing. And when you are feeling overwhelmed by this tremendous sadness and loss inside of you, think of other people that's in a similar situation or is maybe going through an even more tragic event, because that increases our compassion towards ourselves and other people, but also at the same time it helps us to feel less isolated. It's not only you that's going through this experience, even though each of our experiences are definitely different. And then another great thing to do is to do a love and kindness meditation or a Tronel meditation, because that helps us to ease our own suffering and also the suffering of other people. And another thing that you can do when you feel overwhelmed by the sadness and the loss is to focus on gratitude. Gratitude for having had that person in your life. Thinking of the good memories. So, like I said in the scheduling of my event or of this talk, I lost a dear friend of mine, another life mentor, last week. It was such a huge shock to me. And I just decided that day, I actually woke up, I had an amazing start to the day, and then I got this news. And what I decided is that every time I felt that sadness, I just appreciated the time I had that person, what I've learned from that person, thinking of those beautiful memories. And then the next thing that I would like to say is that the way you move forward is 100% your choice. You can either choose to stay in misery, and I think it's part of it, that initial shock, that initial sadness and loss, like I said, you shouldn't suppress what happened, but there's a time where you need to actually decide to move forward, and that it's not going to keep you captive in the past. So initially it's hard, but even if it starts out by an intention to not remain in that misery. And then the other choice is to embrace the joy in the current moment. And then another great way to aid the healing process, and I've mentioned gratitude and appreciation already, but focus on any beauty. If it's too hard for you to think of the person and good memories, then focus on any beautiful thing, because any beauty is going to spark that awe and joy and appreciation inside of your heart. And that's what I said last week when I couldn't do the live video. I shared what that shell basically did and how much joy it sparked inside of me. So I use that to lift my emotional vibration. Then, and I just thought about this last week again when I lost that mentor, tell the people that are close to you how much you appreciate them. what they mean to you. Express that gratitude while they are still here. Last week I thought I actually want to write a letter or say or phone the people close to me and actually say, listen here, I want to tell you this is what you mean to me in my life. Okay, so that's a decision I made there. And last thing, although losing people in our lives are inevitable, it's important to shift your focus to the present moment, to moving forward, to positive things around you. And the reason why I'm saying this is that if you are going to remain in that state of sadness and suffering for too long, you basically become a magnet that attracts more suffering into your life. Okay, so that is what I have for you this morning. I trust that you found it helpful, and I'm really sending you a lot of love, healing, compassion, getting through your difficult time. And remember, we are meant to heal. You will heal, even though you don't feel like it right now. Have a lovely day.